So does The Last of Us finale do right by the game and the great story? Yes, it does. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watch Your Pass. Today I'm here to talk to you about The Last of Us Season 1, Episode 9, Look for the Light. It is the finale of Season 1 of The Last of Us. It came to HBO Max on March 12th, 2023. It is the culmination of these last 9 episodes, and oh my gosh, what a great episode. It was fantastic through and through. My hot take, as you can tell, is look, I definitely think you should watch it. It is a fitting finale to this great series, and it stays true to the original story and delivers on the promise that this series has had. Look, I've been cautiously optimistic throughout this series because it seems to be threading that fine line between doing smart updates for TV, but then also staying true to the story. And the finale is no different. It delivers on all the story beats that I was hoping to see, and it doesn't hold back on some of the emotionally driven, but I don't know if controversial is the right word, but like maybe selfish choices that you have from the game story. It brings those through and does it perfectly. So I'm going to tell you a little more about the episode. A few things I liked. There wasn't really anything I didn't like, so I can't talk about that. And in doing that, I will talk about the ending because one of the things I liked is the ending. So there will be spoilers in the ending section. If you don't want to know what happens in this episode, and you might not because there are some very big revelations, then I would turn it off. When I get to that ending section, I will leave it vague until that point and let you know when I get to those spoilers. So in The Last of Us, Season 1, Episode 9, you have Joel and Ellie finally making their way to the Fireflies. That's been kind of the crux of their journey. They've been trying to get Ellie to the Fireflies so that the Fireflies can hopefully develop a cure for this virus and, I guess, save humanity, save the world. But when they finally get there, everything is not really chalked up to what they expected, and there might be some tough choices that have to be made in a very short amount of time. So, things I liked about this episode. The first, look, the story. The story is fantastic. It follows the game, and there were some scenes that I was really hoping would be in this series, but I wasn't sure if they were going to, either for budget or just for execution or time. And they were. There's a specific scene that if you've played the game, you know it is a big, kind of breathtaking moment. And they do that in this episode too. It's beautiful. It's touching. It is kind of the perfect scene for that time, for like the journey that Joel and Ellie had. I'm very happy that they brought that through, but I'm also happy they stayed true to some of the other story beats that I will talk about later when I go into the kind of the ending section. So, second thing I really loved is the sound, or in this case, the lack thereof. There is a kind of tense, dramatic scene that happens where the most striking thing about it is that the sound becomes very muted, and you have this kind of beautiful classical music that plays during this sequence, and the sound itself, it kind of takes a back seat, and that is important to the story moment and also important to kind of understand the character's personality and the character's perception of what is happening. And so I really love that. I thought it was a really great kind of touch, and it really emphasized the drama in that moment. And the third thing I really liked is the great music. Now, I already mentioned that the music kind of had this somber classical beat during this really dramatic moment, but then during some of the later choices that are, I don't know, hectic or maybe more disjointed, you get that classical music, but you also get some kind of like distortion in there. It feels like maybe they took some classical music and then put like an electric guitar. It is a really great touch, and it really kind of fits with the decisions that are happening at that moment. But just throughout this episode, the music is fantastic. You get that beautiful classical guitar that has kind of punctuated both the Last of Us game and then the Last of Us series. You get that during some of the more kind of emotional scenes, but then, like I said, you get some beautiful classical, you get some, I don't know, disjointed kind of electric classical. It is just a really great soundtrack, and it fits the mood and the drama in this episode perfectly. And the last thing I really loved is it stayed true, and especially the ending. And so because of that, I am going to go into the ending section. There will be spoilers here. If you don't know what happens in this episode, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. So, like I said, Joel and Ellie have been making their way to the Fireflies camp, and they've had some issues along the way, but they finally get there. It's in Salt Lake City, Utah. And so they get to that camp. They are kind of ambushed by the Fireflies. The Fireflies don't really know who they are, so they kind of subdue them. And Joel wakes up in this hospital with Marlene there. And, you know, she explains, like, they didn't know who you were. But she explains then, but Joel's first thought and always thought is, like, where's Ellie? Marlene explains that Ellie is getting prepped for surgery. And so Joel's like, wait, what surgery? Like, what's going on? And Marlene explains like why she thinks Ellie's immune. And we find out earlier that when Ellie was born, her mother was bitten like almost at the moment that Ellie was born. So when Ellie was being born, a infected attacked her mother Anna, and so her mother fought her off, killed the infected, but in the process got bit. And so Ellie kind of, I guess, had some of that transferred to her from birth. And so what Marlene thinks is that some of the cordyceps from that bite like implanted themselves into Ellie and it is tricking the infected cordyceps from being able to turn her. When she gets bit, those cordyceps think, oh, look, there's already cordyceps here. She's already infected, and they don't attack her. So it essentially kind of blocks them from taking over, and that is how she's immune. Now, they are hoping to kind of remove that through surgery and replicate these like these messages that Ellie's body is putting out in order to create like a vaccine or a cure or some sort of serum that can turn everyone immune. Joel rightly points out, like, wait, the cordyceps live in the brain. Like, how are you going to do this? And what we find out is that Ellie is going to die through this surgery. Like, they are going to do the surgery and get this hopefully cure, but Ellie will die. So Marlene explains, like, she was there when Ellie was born. She was actually the one that took Ellie from her mother. Their mother made her promise to keep Ellie safe. So Marlene understands the gravity of the situation, but she is only thinking about, I guess, the greater good. Joel is not thinking about that. Joel is thinking about his relationship with Ellie and trying to kind of like keep that going. So Marlene tells her guards, like, take Joel to the road and like have him go on his way, give him a pack, but kind of get him out of there. And as Joel is being taken away, they get taken to a staircase. They're going down the stairs, and Joel finds an opportune moment and takes out the guards. And then you have this great sound effect where Joel is going through the hospital, like methodically taking out everyone in there, trying to get to Ellie. And you have this muted sound throughout. So even though there's gunfire, even though there's chaos, it is kind of subdued because Joel is being very kind of cold and calculating and just trying to get to Ellie. Like, nothing else matters. The only thing that matters is like getting to Ellie. So you have him go through the hospital and just kill, murder everyone in his way to get to Ellie. He gets to the surgery room, gets in there. There's a doctor and a couple nurses prepping her for surgery. Joel says, like, unhook her. The doctor says, like, I'm not going to let you do that, and like starts to go towards Joel. And Joel just like cold-blooded killer takes out the doctor and tells the nurses, unhook her. So the nurses comply quickly. They unhook her. They bandage up the few little wounds that she has, and then Joel picks her up and takes her out of the hospital. He finds a car and is about to go like take her away in the car, and that's when Marlene shows up. And Marlene tries to convince him to like let her stay, like they can still fix this, they can still get a cure. She is essentially trying to convince Joel to keep Ellie there, and Joel's argument is like, Marlene can't make the choice, Joel can't make the choice. Marlene kind of rightfully points out that maybe Ellie would want it to be this way, but they don't know. So as Marlene is trying to like convince Joel just shoots her in the stomach. Marlene goes down. She survives this, but Joel walks up to her and says, like, you would just pursue her. You would just, try to get her back, and shoots Marlene in the head. So basically he executes anyone that knows about Ellie and knows about the cure that she has. He takes a car, drives away. He's driving back to Wyoming to go be with his brother in their kind of their settlement. They get almost there, and the car breaks down. So Joel and Ellie have to walk the last 5 miles. And Joel seems really happy. Joel seems very engaged. It's interesting. It's like very awkward when they're walking, even though they've kind of been through so much together. And you can tell that Joel is trying very hard, which then makes it awkward. He's like trying to treat her like his daughter and talk about how like, oh, you think you would have gotten along well with her. You were similar in some respects. Like, he's trying to engage her, and it's making it very awkward. And during the trip, what you find out is Joel told Ellie, and during the drive, Ellie had been passed out this entire time, like in the hospital, and woke up in the car. So she asked what happened, and Joel said, oh, well, they had a bunch of other people there. They were experimenting on everyone, and they determined that there was like no cure. And I was like, well, why am I like in hospital gear? And like, oh, like some raiders attacked and I barely got you out. It's a very far-fetched story, but Ellie doesn't really question it. Now, when they're walking to the settlement, They walk up a hill, or they walk, to a hill and see the settlement down in the valley below. So they're almost there, and Ellie says, like, stop. And this is the scene that I was not sure if they were going to do. I was very happy that they did. Ellie kind of confronts Joel and says, essentially, like, swear to me that everything you said about the Fireflies was true. Like, all the story that you told about how they couldn't find a cure and they gave up on it and whatnot. She says, swear to me that's true. And Joel, kind of without hesitation, says, I swear. And Ellie kind of looks at him like she knows that he's lying. She knows that there is something not true, but he wants to believe it. And I think Ellie wants to believe it as well. And so she just kind of like holds it for a little bit. And then she says, okay. And they keep going. And that was perfect. I loved that. I was hoping that it would be that way, because that is kind of the story of The Last of Us. It is this, that I was hoping it would be that way, because, like, what I love about The Last of Us is the ending is so kind of anti-hero-ish. Like, Joel is doing a very selfish act. He's saving Ellie from dying, but he's doing it mostly because he needs Ellie. He's like finally found someone to kind of replace that hole in his life that his daughter used to be in. And so he is saving Ellie from death, but doing it for very selfish reasons. And that act where he says, I swear, is like the ultimate selfish thing that he did. He like didn't give her the truth. He took the cure from like the world for his own personal like gain. And Ellie accepts it because she knows, I don't know, she knows he needs it. Maybe she wants to believe it as well. She like likes the situation. And I just love that that's how this episode ends. I love how this season ended. I guess we'll see what happens in the next episode. I actually haven't played Last of Us Part 2, so I don't really know what happens next. I will have to play it before the next season comes out. But that is The Last of Us Season 1, Episode 9. That's the end of this season. Definitely watch it. It is fantastic. It's a fantastic show. It's a really great show by itself, but it's also a great adaptation of the video game. So check it out. If you haven't started it, there's only 9 episodes. Watch them all. They are fantastic. It's on HBO Max. Go check it out. Go binge it. Finish it quickly. And thanks so much for watching. If you liked this episode, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.